And so we're back again, and I'm happy to see so are you. We're here for our next discussion. So far, we've only fleetingly, or should I say in broad terms, touched upon the concept of this new European Bauhaus. But what are we really talking about? That is what will be unpacked from various angles in the next discussion. And I'm very happy to see, by the way, hello again, people online. I'm very happy to see there's a lot of women on stage, which is always a plus if you ask me. To facilitate the conversation, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. José Pedro Sousa, Assistant Professor of the Faculty of Architecture of the University of Porto in Portugal, and Miquela Magas, welcome to you too, member of President von der Leyen's high-level roundtable for the new European Bauhaus. Enjoy the conversation.
Welcome, everybody. It's our pleasure to be here with you, and I am thrilled and honored that we are joined by one of the leaders of the initiative, the Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth, Maria Gabriel.
And I'm very happy to be here, sit with Miquela, but also very happy to have the representatives of two partners of the European Bauhaus. Teresa Calix is an architect and an assistant professor at the School of Architecture at the University of Porto. She's also a vice dean of the school and the coordinator of a research group, Morphologies and Dynamics of Territory. And through research and teaching activities, she explores opportunities to deepen the relationship with institutions and agents of several fields related to urban and sustainable development. She's also the coordinator of the NEB lab called NEBGO South, that we'll hear about it soon. And Vesna Caminat, she's the director of the Liaison Office Brussels of the Autonomous Province of Bolzano, South Tyrol, and she's from South Tyrol in Italy and has been working since 2005 in the representation of the European region Tyrol South, Tyrol Trentino. Following its mandate, the Liaison Office Brussels instigated the initiative European Bauhaus of the Mountains in South Tyrol, involving the main interested partners. Welcome.
Thank you.
Before we start, we'd like to ask the audience in the room and also the audience online to tell us what do they think that the European Bauhaus represents and what does it mean to them. Now, we have Slido for this.
Yeah. And now, yes, you should be seeing a QR code in your screens. So please scan it and go to the website and drop your thoughts about it. And we are very anxious to see the word cloud that will pop out of your contributions.
So, for those of us who are perhaps not so familiar with the new European Bauhaus, Commissioner Gabriel, perhaps you can tell us in a few words, what is the initiative about and have we actually witnessed any real transformations on the ground already?
Well, the new European Bauhaus for me is the soul of the European Green Deal. Remember when we started, we said that we would like to see the new European Bauhaus as a bridge between the world of science and technology and the world of art and culture. In one sentence, for me, the new European Bauhaus aims at improving citizens' life thanks to innovation, to what we have as strengths at European level, the talented people, the extraordinary talented people, and all this with the European creativity. Always with one single spirit, we are able, because we are together, and because we are tackling this in a beautiful and sustainable way, to answer to a global challenge like climate change, with local solutions adapted to the needs of all our citizens. So for me, the new European Bauhaus is here to show that every single citizen can be a driver and actor of the European Green Deal.
Wonderful.
And Teresa, almost 2 years have passed since the European Bauhaus was launched by the President of the European Commission. Back then, do you remember how did you find out about the initiative?
Well, my first contact, I think it was through the media. And as you know, the word Bauhaus does more than ringing a bell for an architect, because actually Bauhaus represents an atmosphere, an environment of discoveries, of innovation that took place in a particular period of time, in a particular school or set of schools. So, of course, when I saw New European Bauhaus, I started to pay more attention, and I found that it might be quite interesting in order to change the way people saw arts and saw architecture. And then José Pedro was elected a member of high-level roundtable, so it is very close to me at Porto. So more and more information came, and in a way I think that I thought that everybody should join, and for me that I was already very interested to understand how we could broaden the opportunities of academia to deal with the matters that interested to society. It feels that this movement was quite interesting to try.
Very good. And Vesna, what was your experience? What did you think when you heard for the first time about the European Bauhaus initiative?
Well, I must say it was a very big curiosity, and I was wondering what's going on. And the second thought was, how may I be able to translate this philosophy, this change of mindset, in the right, correct words to communicate it to the stakeholders in our territory? Because in the end, this is also the mandate of Liaison Office here in Brussels, not to inform, but to communicate, so to find the right words for each stakeholder. And my feeling was that an adventure is starting, and that this is, let's say, an opportunity. An opportunity, something that can be formed during the time. So it's not something that, let's say, is predestinated, but it's something that will be formed via, let's say, that you are exploring it, that you are getting ideas, impressions from the stakeholders, that you are able to get new stakeholders on the board. It's really an evolution. So my feeling was really, I know a little bit from where we start, but I don't know how the walk will be. So very interesting, yes.
Very good.
It's very interesting to hear both of you speak about what happened at the beginning, because it was only a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago. And for some of us who have been involved right from the beginning, it's actually astonishing to think that it was a year ago, because so much has been achieved. So, Commissioner Gabriel, perhaps you can tell us what are the main achievements so far, and what are the real tangible transformations that we have witnessed?
Well, if I have to resume, what we have seen is how we passed from the formulation of the concept to the first results, and how we passed from listening mode to delivery mode. And what I would like really to underline, that I fully share the view of Vesna, that it's really important to preserve this co-creation spirit, really to do all this together. What was achieved, of course, there is now first results, and there is examples that are inspiring, and that's what we would like to see. Where there is a need to improve. Of course, I can only mention some of them. First of all, for me, we managed to have a real community, a vibrant community of people looking at the same direction, really showing us what that means, multidisciplinary approach, cooperation and collaboration. Just look at the 500 partners and friends of the New European Bauhaus, an extraordinary, vibrant, talented communities, from architects to scientists. I'm Commissioner for Education too, they are very active too in this. And I see that more and more the mayors, the regions are aware of what that means as opportunity for them, the European Bauhaus. Second example, the European Bauhaus Prizes. I think that it's always important really to give more visibility to people that already achieved results, and at the same time, as Commissioner for Youth, it's very important to encourage our young people to be our rising stars. And that's a great moment when you can see how much the spirit of the new European Bauhaus can be implemented following the different grounds, the different experiences, and proposing solutions that are adapted to the different territories and communities. Of course, I'm really very glad that now we have a budget. We have to talk about this more openly. Remember, we started with nothing, zero. For 21-22, we have 85 million euros budget coming from Horizon Europe program, and I'm really proud with the results of the first Lighthouses demonstrators. We have the European Regional Development Fund, LIFE program. So now I think that the message is very clear. We need critical mass of funding in order to ensure the sustainability of this initiative and the projects that are already submitted. Another example that I would like to raise is NEPLAB. I think that we all have to look more closely on their work. Of course, it's good that we have Commission-led projects and community-led projects, but of course, we have to talk about labeling strategy. We need really together with them to see how all these people that are very much engaged, and the last 1.5 years we have seen incredible results, will be there for many years with the label, because this label will give them additional chance to build networks, to attract investors, to scale up just their extraordinary ideas. And yes, finally, maybe what I would like to say is let's use again the opportunity of the festival. That's an achievement. First festival of the European Bauhaus, a real moment of celebration to say, yes, because we are only together, we can succeed. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, but what the community of the new European Bauhaus has shown very clearly during the last half year is that we are able to transform the difficulties, the challenges into opportunities and solutions that are beneficial for our citizens. And that's my wish, that we continue in this direction.
Very good. Commissioner just mentioned that we have to do this together and the community, so this is a good trigger for the next question. And both of you, from Porto and from Brussels, you deal in your daily life with different social and professional contexts. Teresa, can you share with us a little bit about the communities that you deal with and how did they react to this co-design phase of the European Bauhaus?
Well, I would have to start with the academic community, and their students were the first to understand the importance of European Bauhaus. In fact, their generation is very interested in finding ways to change. I think they are the first that really value the European Bauhaus ideals, so they are very interested in joining this renovation wave that is taking place everywhere. But actually in Portugal we also have some important initiatives, like our National Architects Association did a major event on the topic that was really very important because made all the architects aware of the existence of this renovation wave and the importance to start understanding what were the challenges, could be the opportunities. So that was a very important initiative, and I think no one nowadays is set apart of this movement. We also had this important movement that was Bauhaus of the Sea that submitted a proposal to Lighthouse projects. And even though if they didn't get it, it was quite important because Portugal has a big coastal area, so it was another way of making very noticeable this issue and some of the issues that will be quite important in the future. So I think somehow I understand that people are more and more joining to the movement, understanding what are the challenges and trying to make a difference. I think so, yes.
Thank you. And Vesna, you mentioned bringing the stakeholders to the movement. Tell us a little bit about that community and how they are reactive and being inspired by the European Bauhaus movement.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I would say that the kickoff came from Brussels, let's say, from us, because we always provide information to the territory. And as public administration, because we are public administration, we thought immediately that this is the opportunity also to act in the way of an ecosystem, because you actually need a change of mindset. And so we wondered a little bit who might be the stakeholders in South Tyrol who are already dealing a little bit with these issues and who might be really interested in being the pioneers. And so we addressed the, let's say, the question and this call for interest, let's say, to the European Research Academy in Bozen-Bolzano, to the Free University of Bozen-Bolzano, but also to the Klimahaus Agency, who is really dealing with renewable energies in the building sector. And I must say, the three of them, they have excellent researchers, professors, and also, let's say, professionals, and everybody was enthusiastic. And they saw the opportunity, and they immediately jumped not on the board, but I would say on this snowball, because it's a snowball because, for example, the Klimahaus Agency is bringing on board also the Chamber of Architects. And the professors, the students, the researchers, their partners network. And so this project, this evolution is not staying in South Tyrol, but it's going beyond. And so this is really, let's say, the start of something that is, it's really a movement, something that's developing, I would say, day by day. And so the feeling was really enthusiasm.
Wonderful to hear, also because the European Bauhaus Initiative is actually really unique in the sense that it starts the movement from the ground up. And we haven't had that before. So it was a big experiment, wasn't it, in that sense? And the place-based approach is central to the new European Bauhaus. So, Commissioner Gabriel, how do you think this place-based approach promotes the involvement of the regions and the regional municipalities and also all of the small projects that are happening from the ground up in the regions?
Well, I think that it's really important to continue our efforts, really to bring on board all our regions. Some of them are very well aware, they are very active, but we need to talk about small municipalities, rural areas, remote areas. So that's why, for me, it's so important to continue our very close cooperation with the Committee of the Regions. And the second, we are experimenting, as you said it very precisely. With the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, we are experimenting exactly how to address the needs of the small-scale actors, individuals and communities. And actually, we have a call that will just identify the first 20 projects in order to see how we can improve our assistance to them. That's all. The second thing, and here I must say big thank you to my fellow colleague Elisa Ferreira, because we are addressing the different municipalities and regions. You know that we already launched a call that is for regions with 100,000 inhabitants. Now we would like to see what's about the smaller one. So that's why, for me, it's really important to continue the technical assistance with them, and that's with Commissioner Elisa Ferreira. Of course, we need maybe something like this festival as platform where they can join forces together. And I will always remember, I organized a meeting between the mayors of the European Capitals of Culture and the European Capitals of Innovation. The first topic on which they wanted to discuss, that was the new European Bauhaus. And we discovered an extraordinary synergies, already best practices. So I think that now the challenge is how to bring not only the mayors of the capitals, but the mayors in rural areas, in remote areas. And that will be one of the next steps on which we are working with my team.
Thank you. We really look forward to that.
And let's move now to the projects that Teresa and Vesna are coordinating. You both are representing, the teams that are coordinating the NEBGO South initiative and the European Bauhaus of the Mountains initiative that were both recently recognized as NEB Labs. Teresa, can you tell us a little bit about how the idea of NEBGO South came and briefly in what it consists?
Well, actually, NEBGO South started as a platform where people could meet and discuss these new challenges that we have to deal with. And we started with this website. We had those limitations on the pandemic days, so we had to find a way where everybody could meet staying at home. So it was an online, we did a set of online events that were quite interesting to start promoting this discussion. But actually, we followed the initiative of Nordic Bauhaus, and we found it quite interesting, and we understood that although we are in a very small continent, Europe has quite different areas. We are, for instance, in the south, we are already dealing with drought, with heat waves, with fires. We have common ways of eating, we have a common culture, we have common ways of doing things and being. So we thought that these specificities should be considered, and we should follow the idea of the Nordic Bauhaus and create this platform in order to discuss matters that would be more challenging for the southern countries. As our main focus is education, we gathered for the beginning 6 schools of architecture in 6 universities in 6 different countries. So we are talking about Portugal, Spain, France, Italy, Croatia, and Greece. And these were I think, the driving force of a set of events, of a set of discussions, and we are trying now to enlarge this network and making it further and further interesting. And with this idea that the closer cooperation and co-design between these southern countries could make a difference and strengthen our ability to cope with these challenges, mainly considering the ones that are really very present in our territories, and at the same time not just enclosing the problems in this particular territory, but creating a way of dealing with all the matters that New European Bauhaus strives to inspire.
Thank you. And Vesna, how this idea of thinking the European Bauhaus in the mountains, on the mountains, from the mountains, can you share with us how this idea came from?
Yeah. Actually, already finding the name was a little bit an adventure, because we started from New European Bauhaus, South Tyrol. Then we said, but maybe with what do we really identify in South Tyrol? Everybody. This is the mountains, because we are 100% mountain area, and it's not that we live in the mountains, but the mountains live in us, in our heart, in our emotions. And so the only question was, do we want to become the NEB of the Alps or the NEB of the mountains? And since this should be inclusive, we thought, let's go for the mountains. And so it was really, let's say, NEB of the mountains. And the real big moment, the big bang was the 8th of July 2021 when we started with a kickoff event. And there we gathered those 4 pioneer stakeholders and we organized a conference in South Tyrol to explain also to the territory what is going on, what is New European Bauhaus. And this was really a success because we were able to interest the citizens. And so, from there, the stakeholders, they started with 7 working groups, each one in its own, let's say, competence field that goes from digital transformation of common goods to education through art and design. It goes to the sustainable and affordable housing, very important. It goes also to creative industries and so on. And I would say that nowadays the big challenge is to converge those different sectors, let's say, to an umbrella strategy, roadmap, or how we want to call it, in the sense that we are really able to use the synergies to fulfill this philosophy of new European Bauhaus, not only having, let's say, the trees, but going towards the forest. And sometimes I use also the example, not being a car without fuel, but for the time being, let's say my personal feeling is that we are a lot of fuel, really different, hydrogen, electric, everything, and we need a car because we need to be coordinated and to canalize those energies and synergies, and this is now at the time being the challenge, but really it's developing. So that's a little bit our experience.
Maybe I'll keep one more round
Absolutely.
here with Teresa and Vesna because these projects are very interesting, and the audience would be also very interested in to know how they could participate in the movement. Maybe you could tell us, Teresa, about the next steps of the NEBGO South, and let's say what kind of opportunities are being think about the audience to participate and to contribute to.
Well, in a way, we started with architecture in the spirit of Bauhaus. We aim to bring together innovation and creativity, but crossing disciplinary boundaries. So in a way, now we feel that we need to join even more people from different areas, although they've been there, but we would like to broaden this network and include more stakeholders and even more schools of architecture, of arts, of biology, of whatever. We find that it's quite important. And we are going, as now COVID is leaving us, I hope, we are trying to organize a set of workshops in local, that would work like local experiments in those 6 countries for starts. And we would like to, as we had a set of events that had a subtopic that we found that it was quite interesting, quite important, like housing, zero
carbon,
0 kilometer architecture, or the problem of the cities, or well, a lot of I don't think I brought them here, but they are there. Yes, framing collectivity, geo-biosourced materials. So we had these subtopics, and now we'd like to experiment them in particular contexts in all these different countries. So we hope that by doing this, we would gather locally not only students and teachers, but local stakeholders, local institutions, in order to start broadening also the network of people joining. At the end, what I would say is that we are interested in everybody that is interested in this renovation wave of New European Bauhaus.
Thank you. And Vesna, regarding the European Bauhaus of the mountains, at what stage is the initiative right now? What are the next steps? And again, how others could contribute and participate in that movement?
So I would say that there are, let's say, different aspects. If we have a look at the, let's say, the content, then I would say that our main interest is to network, to find partners, but also, let's say, not only partners for projects, but also partners among other New European Bauhauses initiatives, so that we can also exchange experiences. So that's very important. Concerning, let's say, the more structural aspects, our interest is to understand a little bit how other MAP initiatives, they are organized. Also, let's say, from the point of view of internal governance, how to find financing, because that's also very important, for simple things like, for example, developing the website or having sort of a little secretariat that is, let's say, really following up the coordination work day by day. So for us, this networking with other people around Europe, this is essential. And for this purpose, we will organize at least once a year a big event. For example, this year it was on the 18th of May. And this was also, let's say, a big day within the Klima House Fair that we have every year. So, networking, the governance, and I think that one additional aspect, because these working groups from 7, I think that they will develop with the time, also becoming more and more. From the personal point of view, I hope and wish that we will be able to involve much more, not only youth in general, but children. Children, because in my always personal view, for children, this becomes something natural. It becomes their way of life. It's not something that they understand and that they implement, but simply they grow up with this. And so this will be their way of life towards environment, towards architecture, towards everything. And so I hope that this will be also one of, let's say, maybe our working groups. So thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So basically, we have seen the European Bauhaus really, it's everywhere across the Research and Innovation Programme. It's now mentioned everywhere, which is extraordinary already. How do you think it has affected, Commissioner Gabriel, how has it affected the agenda for research and innovation? And also particularly for the culture and creative sector?
Well, first, it was clear since the beginning that we need really to bring much more closer the worlds of innovation, education and culture. And that was an extraordinary opportunity. That's why you said it in a horizontal way. The new European Bauhaus now is present everywhere, in Horizon Europe program, in Creative Europe program, and of course here I would like to insist on the role of education, because if you'd like to bring on board our children, the education has an extraordinary important role to play, especially not to stay focused only on high education, high-level education, but to go to primary and secondary school. And here, for me, that's a challenge. Why not to bring much more closer the Education for Climate Coalition that we already have with the new European Bauhaus. They have extraordinary examples of how we can work with children. I was with them 1 month ago, but it's true that we are not saying clearly that's part of the new European Bauhaus. So for me, this communication effort, these more efforts for visibility, naming the things yes, it will be important. When we talk about innovation, for me, first, it's really important that we have the European Innovation Council on board, because I can't imagine how we can tackle all these challenges linked to the Green Deal and the European Bauhaus without innovation. We are talking about construction materials. We are talking about energy-efficient buildings. We need innovation in these fields, especially because, don't forget, always new European Bauhaus, that means affordability and accessibility too. It's not a technology for a certain elite. And at the same time, maybe the challenge is to popularize some other novelties of Horizon Europe program. And I'm always thinking here about our missions. 4 out of 5 missions in the new Horizon Europe program are linked to the climate change. We would like to have 100 smart and climate neutral cities by 2030. All of them should be aware that thanks to the Bauhaus, they can transform the places of living for their citizens into something that is feeding this sense of belonging. That's something creative. And here, cultural and creative industries can help us a lot. So for me, that will be one of the challenges. Of course, we have to unlock all the potential of cultural and creative industries. Think about textile industry. We have now a new strategy. That's an occasion to bring them to us. Think about the artist residencies that are planned on the Creative Europe program. Think about all these places, especially those that were former industrial zones. And we have examples like this one in the European Bauhaus prizes. They can be transformed into extraordinary cultural and creative hubs. But we need those hubs not only in capitals, not only in regions that are already aware of the initiative, but we need them in all our regions. So for me, yes, cultural and creative industries can really bring this sense of proximity, this sense of that's me, who is participating in this movement. And I must say that they are very mobilized. Now what we need, and I very much liked how Vesna really attacked the angle of funding with governance and with networking. So I think that, yes, now that will be one of the next steps. We need to address these challenges via networking, see how we can unlock the full potential of our extraordinary community that is there since the beginning of this movement, and at the same time to be as concrete as possible with funding, with governance, with direction, which is delivering concrete solutions for people. I believe in the strength of examples, and that will be the only one way to convince our cultural and creative industries that for them the new European Bauhaus is a chance to show again their creativity, their extraordinary talent, at the same time to show to our regions and to our mayors that with innovation, with education and culture, they can tackle these difficult issues linked to the Green Deal. It's not obvious in some of the regions, it's not obvious in some of the member states, but with the new European Bauhaus, the participation of innovation, education, research and cultural and creative communities, we have more chances to succeed.
Wonderful. So basically, we're talking about distributed, transgenerational, as I mentioned, cross-disciplinary, and radically inclusive, we would say, right?
So the NEVGO South movement is going on, and thinking in the long term, what kind of results are you expecting to obtain out of this experience?
Well, mainly, of course, as we are focused on high-level education, our goals are to change our curricula, to introduce new contents, to make the improvements that are needed in order that some of these matters take place in our schools, in our university environments. But I think it will be, in a way, quite easy because there is a growing collective awareness. And I've already mentioned COVID once, I will mention it again, because at the end, I believe that COVID, with all those negative problems that brought us, also help to create the awareness of our limitations as species. And I think somehow there's this coincidence between COVID and this renovation wave of an European Bauhaus as the real beginning of the 21st century, because in the 20th century, all the improvements on technology were to make us believe that we were amazing and we could be whatever we wanted and do whatever we could. And now we face the reality of the limitations of our planet, the limitations of humankind, if we go on further with this way of being. So I think for NEB South, it's quite important to understand these limitations and what we can do in our particular territories. So it's very important that we continue to combine the efforts of students, of teachers, of everybody that is interested, of researchers. And at the end, because we believe, as Commissioner Gabriel already said, that education is really important to change mindsets, and it's really important to change our cultural background in those things that it needs to change. So I think it's our main goal, so we hope we can address it, yes. Thank you.
If I can react, because I fully agree with what Teresa said, maybe just to give another example how we can bring other people to us and to have more participants. When we talk about higher education, don't forget that in the new European strategy for universities, we are saying that our universities are the drivers for the green transition and the digital, of course, and that was a shift, the COVID. So we need to seize the momentum. That's why I would like just to bring to your attention the importance of the European Universities Alliances. That's our European universities of the future. They are working on this issue. What we would like to see is now a challenge-based approach with recognition for these skills, because we have to talk much more about the green skills. I must say that they are very active, they are pioneers, and some of them already started with a very concrete idea to have a massive online course for free for every single citizen. And that's what I would like to say. On one side, it's really to encourage them to continue to work in this direction, from the curricular to the recognition and the interoperability and all these questions, and very, very ecosystem approach, to the necessity maybe to our partners and friends of the European Bauhaus to speak to the European Universities Alliances how much their experience on the ground is important and how much they can contribute for the development of these European universities of the future.
Very good. And no, education is really in the center of the movement, is one of the pillars, and to work in areas like Teresa was mentioning, some fields that are very resistant to change, but at the same time they are in the center, in the eye of the storm. So this is a good contribution to try to instigate this change. And regarding the NEB of the mountains, what kind of results are you expecting to obtain? You already mentioned the importance of the youngest, but can you elaborate more on some of the expectations and the vision that the movement has?
Yes, absolutely. I would like to start saying that one aspect that has been mentioned very often, also when dealing with structural funds, is that mountains are areas with natural handicaps. And right from the beginning, because I was working with structural funds, right from the beginning, I always felt really bad, because we are not areas with natural handicaps, it's challenges. And we are, let's say, areas that can provide a big richness and a lot of opportunities. And our president, Mr. Arno Kompatscher, it's, let's say now, I would like to say at least 2 years, that he has started really a campaign to bring sustainability. Sustainability in each corner of our territory. In the smallest valley, in the smallest village, sustainability, and really to let's say, valorize what we are as territory, mountains, rural areas. And so the New European Bauhaus initiative is really, I must say, something that couldn't be more welcome to us, because this has also led to a very concrete, let's say, initiative that will be the Sustainability Days that we organize this year for the first time. A little bit of publicity, between the 6th and the 9th of September in South Tyrol. And those Sustainability Days, they will also focus on the New European Bauhaus initiative. And so I would like to say that this is one really, really concrete initiative, and others will be elaborated from the 7 working groups. So above all, concentrating on education and also on dissemination in all different sectors. So architects, who is in the, let's say, wood production and so on, because wood is also one of our smart specialization strategies, sectors. So everything is, let's say, coming together somehow in this new European Bauhaus initiative. And I would like to say that maybe one big challenge will be, as I already said, bringing this, canalize the synergies, so not to go in all directions, but really to bring it together, because then it's also easier to communicate it with concrete examples to the citizens. And then they will be the ones that bring it forward and that give us also ideas to go on again.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question.
I think we do. Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So, Teresa, in your context, in your country, in your city, in the schools that you are in contact with, are you experiencing and witnessing some change driven by the European Bauhaus already?
Well, I would start by saying that nowadays it's not politically correct to say that you don't, you are not part of this renovation wave, or that you don't believe so. This is a good start, I think so. Even in those more conventional or more I would say not updated people, it's hard for them to keep maintaining their own the old ideas of how to do architecture, how to deal with our territorial contexts. So this is a good thing, because I think it's a good start. And what I see is that even society is more attentive and reacts more rapidly. For instance, in the reality of Porto, we understand that now anything that the decision makers try to do that could somehow press the reality of some particular values of sustainability, that we always have a major reaction from society, and everything must be very well explained, even if there's a good base on what is trying to be achieved. People is very interested in knowing what is going to be done, what are we going to lose, what are we going to gain, considering all the values of sustainability, all the values of inclusion. So I think actually everybody is really more attentive, and what I also see in my particular area of architecture is that we are all starting to think more and more in nature-based solutions, in modular constructions, in sustainable materials, in energetic efficiency, trying to understand how we can know more about the technology, and at the same time implement them in our designs. And this is quite challenging, because most of the times we were not used to understand all these all these effects, and we were not used as an architect to have to deal with biologists, for instance. But I think it's quite an enriching experience, and I think it's really, we are really seeing some changes, big changes in my environment. Yes.
Thank you. This holistic stance on the sustainability of the construction chain is really, really one of the greatest challenges that we have to address.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I would add also, because I didn't mention, one of the problems of the South is also the migrations in one way, but the losing of population to the north. And in a way, this holistic vision that you were mentioning actually makes us think of all these things together. So how we can change the way we build, but how we can also create the environment for people to stay. It's also, everything is related, and I think nowadays it's more clear that we cannot establish a very neat limit for our area of expertise, and we always have to understand what's happening in the other areas and make relations and establish partnerships in order that we can really understand this way that we should change our mind, even our mindset as professionals.
Thank you. And Vesna, regarding Brussels, South Tyrol, regarding to your experience, are you also witnessing some changes in the ground taking place? Do you have a similar experience as Teresa?
Okay. Actually, yes, absolutely. Let's say from our perspective as Brussels office, I can say that we feel much more the connection with the territory, and also, let's say, the mandate for us to work with ecosystems. So not only with different stakeholders, but ecosystems, because this is the only way. Because there is also, let's say, this opportunity then to develop new things that otherwise you would never have thought of. On the territory, I can say that there is really a growing interest, because sometimes there are persons coming, sending emails saying, is this a new European Bauhaus project? And then, I mean, how to say yes or no? So it's really starting also a conversation, a debate, and it's including more and more, let's say, people on the ground. And so the development, yes. What's also interesting that you are able, with this message, you're able to, how to say, to involve all levels, from the citizens, from the municipalities, to the politicians on the provincial, say, level, because you simply have to find the right words to communicate the same concept. But sometimes it's really, let's say, the wording that makes the difference, that the other person understands what you're talking about. And I don't speak about doing lobby now, but it's really simply to make it understandable, not only with the brain, but with the heart. Because once again, let's say, mountains are living in our hearts, and this is something that is, let's say, common to everybody in South Tyrol, and that's why we are also, let's say, looking for other partners around in Europe to see a little bit how they translate these feelings, emotions, also, let's say, in hard stuff, then, let's say, like governance and financing, but on the ground there is still this emotion, because this is what you can communicate.
So I would say, from what I'm getting from you, it's this idea that co-creation really depends on finding a space for common understanding, right? And this is what I think that European Bauhaus has perhaps is one of the biggest things, because this is really the core of civilized living, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's
And
any
these
closing
words of
remarks.
Vesna are very much resonating with you, Michaela, I guess, because that was one of the main recommendations.
Maybe you
at the
can
high
take
level.
the mic because it sounds like our mix-up.
Well, thank you very much, Vesna, because I think that we have a chance that Michaela is with us, because I'm sure that your words are resonating, Michaela, for you, Michaela, as part of the high-level expert group, because very, very rapidly we already underlined these needs to improve our efforts on communication, to find always these simple words that will touch hearts, emotion, that will really talk to people. But here I would like to react on one point. You are right, we need really to help people that would like to develop their ideas, and that's why we are working on the NEP Compass. That's supposed to be the tool that will help the developers to translate their ambitions and ideas into projects where the principles of the New European Bauhaus are implemented. And I think that here we need to address this double challenge. On one side, yes, there is already a lot of projects that are implemented. We need to give them more visibility, greater recognition. But what I discovered during my visits in our member states, that there is existing projects and they are even not aware that these projects already fulfill all the criteria to be labeled as a New European Bauhaus project. So that's why for me this challenge should be addressed as soon as possible. And of course, again, the beautiful word synergy, how not only to connect different communities, but different tools, and how to make these tools simpler for use, user-friendly. That's what people are asking for, and I fully agree with our participants. There is a lot of challenges ahead of us, but at the same time, don't forget that in only 1.5 years, we achieved a lot. What I would like to preserve is this emotion, this creativity, always looking forward, one step ahead of the time, if I may say. That's what we are asking, coming from the New European Bauhaus community. And that's why, yes, I'm saying that because I listened to some of the messages, and now we have the New European Bauhaus as horizontal priority in a lot of initiatives. Lighthouses demonstrators, but we need to see results in order to convince much more people. We have innovation, and don't forget, we have some other initiatives. In Erasmus+, we have some novelties like Green Erasmus, and this time I'm really expecting that our young people with the New European Bauhaus will show what that means to be engaged in this green transition. Another example, just to mention, we have our eTwinning platform, which is the biggest platform where teachers, schools are working together. Every year they have a particular topic on which they work, and this year the topic, the theme of the year is the New European Bauhaus. Even the Innovative Teaching Award is dedicated to the New European Bauhaus this year. So I think that yes, that can be quite frustrating sometimes, but at the same time, yes, preserve this wish to see the New European Bauhaus in all these tools, instruments and policies that will help the initiative to scale, to be more visible and to be as concrete as possible, not only for big, but especially for small-scale projects and people that individually need, thanks to the New European Bauhaus, to show that they have been drivers for the green transition.
These are wonderful closing words, I would say. Thank you so much, Commissioner Gabriel. And
And I would like also to thank and to congratulate also Teresa and Vesna for your projects, and thanks for your time and for sharing with us your works.
a round of applause for our speakers.
And a round of applause too, perhaps, for our two moderators, Juan Pedro and Michaela. A very interesting discussion, and words that stuck with me from what I heard from you, ladies, is curiosity, open-mindedness, multidisciplinary, holistic hardware, software, and the importance always, of course, of the right words to reach hearts and minds, and user-friendly tools. That is something that is very important in life. Thank you so much for those interesting insights. Ladies and gentlemen, for now, here we take a break online too, so the stage can be set for the actual official opening of the new European Bauhaus, because everything you've had so far is actually an extra, a prelude to the official opening with President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, present in Rome, but we'll be linking up to Rome. So be back at 1 o'clock sharp, please, for the next segment of this day. Thank you very much. See you at 1.
Hola.